This is college football at its absolute best.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, could be Wayne.
I think I got my swagger back. Oh.
I love it, baby.
Them orange britches. Something about them orange britches.
Tennessee wins! By Tennessee, Jawan Jennings. Jennings makes the catch.
Ball hit high in the air into right field. Going back is Sayre. And Tennessee can say hello win column. A grand slam in the bottom of the ninth. You can't draw it up any better.
We just won a basketball game, and we're very happy right now. McGrath for the win. He got it. If you don't like college football and you watch this one, I'm not sure what your problem is.
Reddit did to do, and welcome into More Important Issues. It is Thursday, May 5th. It is officially, well, yeah, some starts tonight. So officially post-season baseball, and I know you're going to say, Caleb, we played some last weekend. It's conference tournaments. They don't count. They don't matter. What about automatic bids? We all know those are fraudulent bids unless you also won the postseason or the regular season. So it's officially postseason baseball, and it's just a postseason. Anything is fun. It's just a fun time of year. We've got a really special guest on. Going to talk some post baseball, but some postseason baseball, and he equates it to March Madness and talks about it for the weirdos. I think it's for everybody, man. I think you watch it one time, you'll be hooked. I promise. It's fun.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I love March Madness. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it's better, but like the teams that you like have never really heard of have a chance to upset. Whereas in March Madness, like there's some upsets here and there, but like not like this. Like Oral Roberts making it to Omaha last year, unreal.
Yeah, well, and let me push back on that and give you my perspective. So I mean, I think that's like FAU making the Final Four. It's there. Those weird ones happen. What I like about it better than March Madness is you have these, but still more than often the better team advances, even if they drop one, because they are obviously they're not all series, but the regionals even series like where it takes 2 losses to send you home.
Yeah. And
so I like that there's still going to be those weird games in there, but then the next game you don't have a 50-point blowout because of that weird one in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's fun that you get the upsets, but you still get the better team more often than not advancing. And so it's still competitive every night, but it's fun baseball. It's upset baseball. And then, yeah, you have some teams kind of come out of nowhere like Will Roberts, who you're going, there's no chance they go and advance to the championship in Omaha. But man, it's fun that they're there.
Yeah, I mean, I think college baseball, it gives those like smaller teams. Are they going to win it most of the time? No, but I think they have way more of a chance to win it in baseball than they do in basketball.
I mean, they've done it. A small team's done it before in baseball. I don't know if they have in basketball.
Yeah. So, yeah,
I think it's a balancing act. I think it.
Also love that there's home fields involved.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
that
I
just
think
makes
all
it so much like the atmosphere is just so much better.
That's what professional sports get better than college sports. I don't think in terms of environment and how the teams operate, 99% of the time college does it better. But where professional teams get it right is postseason is still played at home. It is played on, it's not neutral courts. Obviously the Super Bowl is an outlier. But baseball, you've got series that bounce back and forth. Basketball, same deal. It adds to it. I think the college football playoff is going to become an overall better product because there's going to be games played at home fields.
Yeah.
Well, I wish regionals would see what I don't like about NCAA with home fields and stuff. I hope they don't do this with football. I don't think you can. It becomes an NCAA site, and so it doesn't it misses that home field just a little bit. Obviously, the crowds are still better than if it was neutral, but you don't have if you earn the right to host a regional, you should get a sea of your home fans. The only way the home fans should be taken over is if they sell their tickets.
And I think the good thing about, I don't know if every team does like this, but I mean, for this game, I think the team that's playing Tennessee, they got some left field tickets and some standing room only tickets, and that's it.
And I think that's how it should be, in my opinion. And I know it's available to some season ticket. I don't know if it's available to all season ticket holders. I don't know how that works. I don't see how it could be. But yeah, that's the only thing I don't like about how NCAA does it, is it becomes a NCAA side. It's like, you should be able to hear the intercom. The away team shouldn't get walk-up music.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be – you should hear Rocky Top played before the end of the game.
Yeah.
That's it. Other than that, I like that it's at a home site. So you get it back in Lindsey Nelson this year. You obviously missed that with Super Regional last year, which is abnormal for Tony Vitello area. Before last year, he only spent one Super Regional away, or no, none, because they didn't make it to Super Regionals. The year he was in Chapel Hill for regional. So that was the first time. So postseason baseball does return to Lindsey Nelson. They win, obviously they get a Super Regional as well. So that'll be fun. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. Then we've got special guest. Excited to get him on. We will get to that after talking a little bit of baseball on our own, and then some football. Before we do that, though, I'm going to tell you guys about our friends at Grade A Grounds. Grade A Grounds is a local coffee roasting company in Kingsport, Tennessee. Owned and operated by two educators in the Johnson City area. Being educators, they want to support their community, the students in that community, the families in that community. Their main goal as a company is to give back to the students in that area. They do that by donating 5% of all sales to a nonprofit organization that supports students all over the Tri-Cities called Coalition for Kids. That money goes directly towards keeping a classroom at Coalition for Kids stocked with the necessary supplies needed for students. So, guys, they got a bunch of great coffee. They've got we got their regular roasts. So all you that don't like to branch out, don't worry. They've got something for you normies, we'll call you. But they've also got some awesome flavors. Going to be rolling out some other great flavors this summer, and as we get closer into our special event for Special Olympics. So really fired up for that. So make sure you check out all their great flavors. Beautiful Blueberry is my personal favorite. Head on over, check out Grade A Grounds. Shout out to Grade A Grounds. Go check them out. Promo code GOVOLS when you go to purchase that.
Yep, do that. All right, let's get into this Knoxville Regional, man. So excited to be back in Lindsey Nelson for postseason play. It's just different. Just feels different. It's kind of similar to that feeling like when you walk into the football in Neyland Stadium and you're just kind of nervous, even though like there's nothing really to be nervous about, but like no matter what game it is, the butterflies get going. And that's how postseason SEC play is kind of like that, but you see true madness happen in these regionals, Drew Gilbert, obviously, just stuff like that. So I'm super excited to have it back in Lindsey Nelson and kind of see what this team can do. And, I know that 2022 team broke like every record possible, but they didn't make it to Omaha.
Yeah.
And so that's no matter what this team has done, whatever, make it to Omaha. That's your goal. And then if you win it, hell yeah. Like we're going to freaking party. But I think that's your ultimate goal is to get to Omaha, and then you got a really good shot when you get there.
Yeah. Obviously we talk about this here later on. There's no easy road, quote unquote. A lot of good teams throughout the bracket. You welcome some solid teams with some good players on it this weekend. So it's not an easy road. And I think, obviously if you talk to coaches and players, they're going to tell you their ultimate goal is to win a national championship. And that's great and grand. It's really hard to do. But I think when you look at Tennessee and not only what they've done this season, what they're capable of, you got to be thinking, get to Omaha. And things are going to be weird this weekend. Things are going to be weird next weekend. It's postseason sports. It's how it goes. But I think this Tennessee team, they're good enough to overcome the weird, as long as the weird isn't too weird. And hey, some weird things may fall your way, like throwing 2 high hanging breaking balls inside the zone, bases loaded. Weird things happen in postseason baseball. So yeah, this team's good enough though to get to Omaha. That's where they should be. And I guess when I say they should be, I'm almost saying, well, that shouldn't be the goal, go win a national championship. But I think in terms of like, because the feeling around the program after 2022, you bring that up, it was very much a letdown not getting to Omaha. Mm-hmm. And I've said it on this show, it's hard to say it's a letdown in a long season, in a season where you did get to super regionals. Get it. I'm not going to dog a fan for saying it's a letdown because, yeah, I want to be in Omaha. But this is another team that feels like if you don't get there, it'd be a little bit of a letdown. Yeah, let's get to Omaha. Like, first off, let's I hope we get Southern Miss so we can. But I feel like there's a lot of, that revenge talk makes it sound like it was fluky. Tennessee should have won that series. They should have won it in Knoxville.
Exactly.
And so the fact that revenge is even on the table kind of pisses me off.
Yeah, there's nothing fluky if you go on the other team's turf and beat them. There's nothing fluky about that.
Doesn't that revenge, and I guess when you get to that point, it kind of is 50-50 coin toss who advances. That revenge term makes it seem like, I don't know if Tennessee should have won that series, and then everything kind of had to go their way. Like they just played their best baseball, and they played really good baseball that weekend. I mean, that's Chase Burns went sicko mode and almost killed himself coming off the mound after blacking out. It just stopped all the blood to his brain. It was pretty fun. But yeah, it seems like a disrespectful term to say we're going to get revenge. It's like revenge makes it seem like these two teams are in the same category. And frankly, as good as Southern Miss is and the hot streak they're on, I don't think they are.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing about, if you're a Tennessee fan, is last year you went to their field, beat them, and now you're playing at home, and this team is a lot better than that team last year. Now, I know that team last year got hot and they found their rhythm late, but on paper, top to bottom, this team is a lot better than last year's team.
The only thing you lose that you had in that Southern Miss series that won you that Southern Miss series is an All-American starter coming out of the bullpen. But it also doesn't mention the levels in the bullpen you have. There's not another Chase Burns, but let's talk Billy Bean. We can't recreate Chase Burns, but we can make up for it in the aggregate. Like there's guys that can close games in this bullpen.
Yeah, I mean you get another arm in that bullpen, get some confidence in Dylan Loy, who pitched in that SEC championship and did a phenomenal job. Marcus Phillips has been pitching well of late. That's another arm. Aaron Combs looks unhittable.
That LSU win on Sunday, I'm not someone who's like Tennessee won't win because they're pitching. You just look statistically, that's just not true. But to say I felt entirely comfortable with our pitching all year would be a lie. It's felt like a weak point's not the right word because it's not a weak. It's not weak. Mm-hmm. But it's felt like if anything was kind of bust, like it may come from the mound. And part of that is too, like if you look at Saturday, poor Drew Beam this year, it seems like it's all come together in the wrong ways. When guys have gotten hits on you, it seems like you haven't been able to score. So it's not all pitching's fault, but obviously you highlight that point.
I think a lot of that is probably everybody's just used to Drew Beam pitching on Sunday.
Right. Yeah, it's throwing everybody off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those guys coming out and doing what they did at the end of that LSU series or LSU game, it kind of reminded me, like, don't think that. The pitching's good. The bullpen plays. It's fine.
Yeah.
And so, and I already knew that, again, statistically, you see that, but it's just felt like kind of the bad. I guess that's the one thing that's lingered in your mind that just hadn't stood out. Like bad, the top of the line especially stood out.
Yeah. I mean, like I think a lot of people have kind of had that thinking of Tennessee. If Tennessee can just pitch, like they'll be fine. But I mean, we're
But
sitting
if
here, we're fifth in ERA in the country.
Yeah, if Tennessee can just pitch, they're national champion.
Yeah.
It's not fine. And yes, you do have to hit still. You just have to score. But if Tennessee, if we're going to sit here and know what you have in the lineup, and you're saying if Tennessee can pitch better than what they have been this year, they're national champions. It's no questions asked.
Mhm.
Because, like you said, they'd go from fifth in ERA. If they're getting better, they're better than fifth.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's pretty dang good.
Yeah, I mean that's insane because I mean I kind of feel the same way too. It's like the bats have always been good, and you've kind of pieced together like this puzzle that's worked perfectly
Mhm.
with Causey and Stamos and Xander and Snead and Drew Beam pitching as long as he can go, and then you just Kirby and Aaron Combs and whoever else. But I mean that's been the key to Tennessee winning because there is games like you mentioned with Drew Beam on Saturday. There's games where the bats aren't there for a little bit, but what's keeping you in the ball game? It's that pitching.
Yeah.
So I think as much as it seems like it's a weakness, it's actually like been a huge strength for this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you mentioned it later on here, but I guess we can kind of dive into it. I 100% agree. And you kind of got to look at it full picture that this is the best job as a coach Frank Anderson's done. And that's not saying he hadn't had something to do with the guys that have just come in and pitched well for 50 games. Obviously, he has a hand in that. But when you look at what he's had to do kind of night in, night out, what he's had to do throughout the season, like you said, to fit those puzzle pieces together, this is his best job by far. This is I don't want to say the toughest because there's a lot of talent, but in terms of figuring out how this team ticks, how to get it in the right spot, this has been, I would say, his most challenging in the last 5 years.
Yeah, 100%.
But I mean, him and Vitale have figured it out, man. They've gotten guys in the right positions that have made Tennessee successful because you've seen it, you saw it, you've seen it. Not a lot this year because Tennessee hadn't dropped a ton of conference series, but you've seen where it hasn't quite been perfect. Been good, but not been perfect. And I feel like they're really close to nailing it. And they might add AJ Russell, which they said we probably weren't going to play this weekend. Have they officially ruled him out yet?
They haven't. Tony Vitello really didn't say much. He said he was
Shocker.
Unsure. Yeah, he doesn't really say much anyway when it comes to injuries and stuff like that. But I mean, there is kind of worry there. But I mean, I think you kind of go back like it's been working, and if you get AJ Russell back at some point, I think it's a gravy. Other than that, like I mean, he's not going to be a star. I mean, he could be an opener. He's not going to go 6 innings the rest of the season. That's just not going to happen. So, yeah, I hope to see him out there for at least a couple innings and get you some outs, see what he can give you. But I don't know. I think if it happens, cool, but I'm not going to bank on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's gravy. Also, him coming out and talking to the doc. I'd be worried if a guy who's been out as long as he has, I'd be worried if he wasn't talking to the doctor coming off the field.
Yeah.
Let's check in. Let's see how we're feeling. Let's see maybe what we can tweak up tonight to get you feeling better. Like, I'm cool with that. I like that.
Yeah.
Could it be a point of worry? Sure. I'm not going to jump to that conclusion because it seems pretty normal for you to be talking to a team doctor.
Right. And he pitched pretty well. It wasn't like there was a moment in that outing where you're thinking, oh, there goes the arm or anything like that. He didn't seem, I mean, maybe he was and hit it really well, but there wasn't a point in his outing where I'm like, oh no. So I think that probably makes you feel a little bit better, but if there is some more soreness of any kind, he's probably done for the year.
Right. Well, let's get to Monty's question real quick. What do you think about using AJ as a closer? I'll let Landon dive into this. I'll give my quick take, and then Landon's more of a baseball guy, so he can answer it way better than I can. I know from my little understanding, my little point of view, I think using him as a closer would be kind of playing with fire a little bit. This isn't a Chase Burns situation where, for whatever reason, just wasn't working at starter. He was never injured. He never battled that stuff. AJ, especially not pitching much, especially in games coming off of it, that seems like throwing a guy in there in now high pressure situations.
Mm-hmm.
Not that starting isn't high pressure, but that's a little bit of a different animal coming in to close games out. I think that would be putting him in a bad position returning.
Yeah. I just don't think you see it. And part of that is because I think you have some really good
That too.
closers, and Kirby's been good. Aaron Combs is probably your closer in my opinion. Nate Snead could close out a game. I mean, he has that high velo that you like to see at the end of a game. I just doubt, because I think if they were going to use him in that role, they would have maybe tried to fit him in that role last week. And he opened for the SEC championship. So I just don't think you see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be shocked for a lot of reasons, but yeah, that'd be.
Yeah. I do kind of want to dive into this regional a little bit before we get to this interview. So Tennessee, obviously, tomorrow has the Norse. King of the Norse in Northern Kentucky, and they are a really good hitting baseball team. That's about the only thing they do well. Their home runs are 57th, and average are 6th. On base percentage, they're 4th in the country. I mean, they're a really good hitting baseball team. But then, man, you look at the pitching. Oh.
Yeah. I'm going to see some tweets this weekend. I feel it'll be dumb people reminding. It'll just be tweeting about how small Lindsey Nelson is.
Yeah, I
have a feeling.
ERA 249th in the country. They have an all-conference player. I think he's like 8-3 on the year, which is pretty impressive when you think about their offense. But he has a 7 ERA and he was all conference. That's unreal. I think they'll pitch Tanner Gillis, with I think is a graduate right-handed pitcher. I think he's 4.6. I think is what he's at ERA wise. So pretty solid. I think he has around 80 strikeouts on the year. So. He's their by far best pitcher. I just think with Tennessee's lineup, that ERA just kind of pops off to me. I know I think he has 37 earned runs on the year. 11 of them came against Georgia.
So Charlie Condon, thank him for that Player of the Year award.
And I think the only team that you can look at top to bottom and be like, okay, who's kind of like Tennessee in regards to lineup? I think it's Georgia. So, and a lot of that is Charlie Condon, but
right, a lot of it's one guy.
Yeah, they have a pretty decent lineup behind him, but that's where I just see this game getting out of hand. And then I'm like, do you keep that same pitching rotation in, or are you going to save AJ Causey? If it's 6-0 at the end of the second inning, or are you going to be like, okay, let's just ride this as long as we can?
Yeah.
Maybe get some guys some looks in this regional, like a Marcus Phillips or a Dylan Loy. And then you save AJ Causey when you need him. I don't know that they'll do that. Tony Vitello doesn't love change.
And this would be a crazy time to change it.
Yeah, it would.
To be fair.
I don't know if you mess with it, but I think.
But I mean, you also regional's a little bit of a different situation, because it's not like you're only playing 3 games. You could potentially play a 4th game.
Yeah,
so there is some different aspects to it.
Yeah, you have to play. You have to at least win 3 games. So yeah, pitching is going to be a big deal. But I think Tennessee, the way they kind of proved that they can win games last week, what was pretty telling to me. Also, if you lose a game, knock on wood, we don't, but I don't think it matters that much because what you saw.
Yeah, I think you're deeper than every other team here, so I don't think it's a big deal if it happens. Obviously, you'd like to not, but sometimes things don't work out that way.
Yep. In Southern Miss, I think they're a good team. I'm not talking a whole lot about Indiana. I just don't know if Tennessee ever sees Indiana in this regional. But if they do, they were okay in the Big Ten. The Big Ten isn't that great. I mean, Tennessee dog stomped Illinois, who won the Big Ten by 3 games.
Yeah.
And they beat them on that Saturday game 24-1. So Indiana did lose that Illinois team. So I think they're okay. They have some decent players on that team, but I just think unless they win game 1, I don't really have. I mean, if they don't win game 1, there's no way they're playing Tennessee, in my opinion.
Right.
And then Southern Miss, another like good team. Like they have a few players from that last year's team. Slade Wilkes leads the team in home runs again. They have 2 guys that pitched against Tennessee. Billy Oldham, I think, pitched the first game in the regional, and then Nico Mazza pitched in the 3rd game, and Tennessee shelled him for 5 runs. So, 2 like returning starters, those are their top end guys, and have been pretty solid throughout the year. But Tennessee's kind of seen them,
right?
And it's not just dominant stuff. It's not huge lefties, not crafty lefty. That seems to be Tennessee's Achilles heel, is when you're throwing a lefty that can, snap a chain or snap a curveball 8 out of 10 times.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think it's a decent draw. But I mean, I think Tennessee should take care of business.
Yeah. This is a regional you should be kind of over and done with by Sunday, hopefully, and get out of there and get ready for the next one, whoever that may be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and looking at the stats, like Southern Miss is kind of middle of the pack in a lot of stuff. ERA, they're 50th. Home runs, they don't hit a whole lot of home runs, 139th in the country. Tennessee's first. Average 71st. So, I mean, I think they're a good team in the Sun Belt, and obviously finish off the Sun Belt well. But I think Tennessee is a whole different animal, especially when they're in Lindsey Nelson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good to be home.
Good to be home. Did you kind of look at the bracket to see if there's any kind of like regionals that you're like, oh man, that sucks, or that's super easy?
Not more than we did on Sunday. And I saw your tweet, and you didn't mention the Athens regional, which I think is one of the friendlier regionals, if I'm Georgia.
It is. UNC Wilmington is a good team. Like I did a little bit more research on them. They are a good team. Georgia Tech has some players. I think they're – if I was going to name a 4th one, that would probably be it.
I mean, I don't think it's a given that Georgia gets out of there, but that's a Georgia team that relies a lot on the long ball, which is something that can escape you at any moment. So I don't think it's a given they get out of there, but I think that has more to do with them than it does the other teams in that bracket.
Yeah, I agree. They also are going to have a tough super, whoever it is, NC State or South Carolina. So it's going to be tough on them. Yeah, it should be fun. I think that Clemson regional is tough, and I think that Arizona regional is insane.
Yeah, no, which we go into it in a minute here. There's a lot of good teams in baseball this year. I don't think it's confined to a top even 32 or something like that, or I don't think it's I think it'll be. I'm excited to see who's playing in super regionals, because I think there could be some quote unquote weird ones in there that'll make next week really interesting.
For sure. Yeah, looking forward to it. I think another big thing is like Tennessee's just been here before. Like even Billy Amick was in the regional last year. He didn't play for Tennessee, but he was in that regional.
Yeah.
Cannon Peebles was in a regional. Cal Stark, Drew Beam, like these guys have been in it for a while. I mean, looking at that 2022 regional, a big part in a lot of those games is Christian Moore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that is a big deal. You know, we talk about it in this interview, like having a veteran presence is big, and Tennessee's definitely got that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's what's cool about this team is there are some young guys that have made some noise, but it's veteran led. It is absolutely veteran led.
Yep. All right, you ready to get to it?
Let's do it. We got a great interview coming up for you guys. Stay tuned just a second. 2 seconds.
We now welcome onto the show a very special guest. I'm going to go ahead and warn you, Jack, I'm going to mispronounce your name, but to be fair, the mispronunciation is solid. So Jack DeLongchamps, I'll let you correct if you'd like, but it's a great last name regardless.
Here's the problem, guys. It is pronounced DeLongchamps, but I'd be insane to correct people when they say champs. It's like the ultimate fantasy football name. It sounds way cooler. So I'm not going to correct you, but gentlemen, I appreciate you guys having me. Beyond Stoked to talk some ball.
Yeah, I'm fired. I mean, I'm fired up. It's also we'd like to have you on. Maybe next time we'll do it earlier in the season, but we will reconvene for super regionals. This is the best time of year. I told Landon, I mentioned it on the show a couple weeks ago, or right before Hoover. I said I'm excited to see SEC play. It's good, but it doesn't feel real because there's no. If you lose and you're still in the tournament, you're still playing. It doesn't feel real. I'm excited to get to super regionals. It's real now, man. It's time.
Man, to your point, too, I think, my first experience down in Hoover, I got to go down there, and it was a total bucket list because very similar to Omaha, there's just this really, majestic aura around the ballpark. Mm-hmm. And last week was really interesting because, to your point, right, hey, Rocky Top was feeling good. You go in, you get beat 2 games. It don't matter. You're national seed. You've been one of the best teams in the country by far. And I think that's how a handful of teams felt, right? Whether it Tennessee, Kentucky, A&M, Arkansas, they're good. National seeds locked up. But there was a whole flurry of teams just a week ago, which makes the SEC really interesting to watch throughout this run. That felt like it was must win. South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Florida, all of those, that 13-17 bundle where, man, if you go one and done, all of a sudden that bubble gets a little bit tighter. The noise gets a little bit louder. And now that the field of 64 is revealed and you get all 11 teams in, now the pressure's on. It's almost on to go prove to everyone, hey, everyone knows the SEC is high and mighty, and rightfully so. But now it's time to go push it a little bit. And I think this year there's so much parity in this tournament, it's going to be absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because, like Caleb said, it doesn't feel like it until it gets here. I'm tired of going against teams that we've seen guys for 3 years. I can't stand Tommy White. I don't like, whoever plays for Vanderbilt, whatever. I want a team like Northern Kentucky, who we play tomorrow, who I know literally nothing about. That's when postseason baseball is here. So I'm fired up for that. How fired up are you for it?
Oh, dude, I don't know if anybody knows anything about what I'm doing, but it's not boots on the ground. It's flops on the ground. I've been so ecstatic to get out in the car, go and sleep in the trunk, and just travel across college baseball's craziest and coolest venues. Man, that adventure continues this weekend. And we were talking about it a little bit off camera, Knoxville in a super, right? The Dude, Fayetteville, these places that, yes, it doesn't feel real until now. Man, these are college baseball junkies to their core. And this is when the national media gets to step in and go, these are psychopaths. These are psychopaths that love this sport. And to me, it's why it's so relatable. It's so easy to resonate with. So I'm beyond stoked. I'm a part of that junkie fanatic fan base. I'm excited to go get out on the road because, similar for March Madness, a lot of college sports fans will be able to dive in every March, right? This is their opportunity to dive in May and start to learn about the faces of the future of professional baseball. Because this year, and in my opinion, moving forward, the draft and the professional ranks are forever changed because of what the college game has grown into, right? In the first round, we might see only 3 or 4 high school guys. That was not the norm just a decade ago. We're seeing the game at its absolute best. So, hey, you want to talk Northern Kentucky? I'll go there with you. I'm the guy that knows a lot about them. It's their first trip to the college, that field of 64. It's going to be their first run. The Norse, which is, I don't know, maybe the coolest nickname in all of college baseball around. But you're right, man. This is that time of year where you get goosebumps every swing, every pitch. It just means a little bit more,
Did you say you're flops on the ground guy? Are you a thongs wearer?
Dude, absolutely. Rainbows for days.
Thank you. Tell Landon. You don't need to teach me. I know. You need to talk to the guy.
I'm still an athletic flops and socks kind of guy. I'm not the rainbows yet. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not cool enough to pull that off.
Yeah. I'm probably not either, but I just like the feel of like, hey, I might be an AAU basketball player with a little bit of gray hair. That's cool.
So what brand are you rocking with?
I got Target brand on right now.
Okay. That place. That dog. That dog.
I've got a. I think it's is it Reef? Is that what they're called? Got them at the beach a couple years ago. Good solid shoe, and picked up a Life is Good brand one time. They're okay. Not a big fan.
Flip flops.
Yeah, I was just in a Life is Good store, and they look comfortable. They're okay.
I like that. That's very modest. The Reefs are strong. I don't know. I need something in between the toes to make it feel like they're not going anywhere. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Okay. And it's just it screams summer, so I love them.
Now we're talking.
So college, you can just tell by the enthusiasm and you can just tell you love the game in a freakish way. So, number 1 seed curse. Are you about that, or are you ready to see it broken? Do you believe it can be broken?
Yeah, without question. Without question. I made mention to like how I do believe there's a lot of parity. I think that we're going to see a ton of upsets this year, right? Mm-hmm. I really do. With that being said, those 4 teams that we mentioned in the SEC, be shocked to not see them in Omaha, right? Arkansas's pitching is generational. A&M's got maybe 3 legitimate top 5 picks in their lineup. And Kentucky, to me, has just 3 phases of the game. So strong.
Yeah.
And your Tennessee Volunteers, boys, like, I knew they were good. And we're going to get into this later. I got a man crush on Tony Vitello. I really do.
That's everybody.
I was just saying, I'm the only one.
Welcome to the club.
Who the hell doesn't? And I knew they were going to be good going into the year because these guys that were so pivotal in those 21, 22 teams, they're all grown up, right? Yep. Now they're getting to teach the youth and they're getting them bold what this culture looks like. There's a real standard of excellence. I heard from multiple coaches last week. They think it's harder to win in Hoover than in the NCAA tournament. And you guys were going in with house money with really no need to win it, and you couldn't get out of your own way, and you still won the SEC championship. I've got them slated in my finals, right? Like, not to be chalk, but for me, when you look at the depth in pitching, you guys have depth on depth. You guys have guys that are throwing in that back end that haven't thrown all year. That would be front end dudes at pretty much every other Power 5 in the country. Pair that with an offense that's absolutely petrifying to pitch to, with 2 bona fide first rounders, in my opinion, in Christian Moore and Blake Burke, which for whatever reason guys don't have on their draft boards, which I think is just, you have to be a lunatic to not look at what those guys have done over the course of their career. To me, go ahead and break the curse. I know there's a Madden curse too, and I know that the number 1 overall seed thing has been a little bit of a blemish in the college baseball world. But to me, man, you guys are about as loaded and deep as you'll find in the country.
In 1999, the last time it happened, Miami.
Yep, I think it was guerrilla warfare, right? That was when those bats sounded like gongs, and those guys were just getting 900-foot homers. So, yeah, I believe you're correct.
Okay. Well, I'm cool with 900-foot homers, and I think you got 2 guys that can absolutely do it at the top of that lineup, and they're playing their best baseball right now. And you kind of mentioned and alluded to, those guys were a big part in 2021 and 2022 and getting to Omaha, a team that kind of limped to Omaha last year. And now this year, here they are, and it's get off the tracks. This train's coming.
Facts. Well, I think what's so cool about last year's team was that it was so unexpected, right? There was that hangover to this team that we were getting ready to proclaim as one of the greatest college baseball teams of all time because of what they did in the regular season. But everyone says that Notre Dame Super Regional was an upset. To me, what we saw was an organization and a program that figured it out. That was a really old veteran Notre Dame team.
Yeah.
That's what the college baseball world looks like now, right? They took advantage of the grad transfer. They took advantage of the portal. They had 11 guys on that Notre Dame team that were 5th years, 23 years old coming in from another program. Experience is the value of currency of choice for all of these college coaches. So they've learned how to play the game. You've learned how to play the system. So last year when Tennessee makes their run, that target on their back that was massive from the few years prior, it dissipated. So now when you look at this year's team, there was no conversation really about this Tennessee team. I mean, I understand they were highly ranked in the top 25, but we didn't see them doing this. But how could we not, right? All the conversation, Florida returning a ton of dudes, LSU returning a ton of dudes. You looked at Wake, what they did in the portal, and obviously taking your guy, and all of a sudden, like there was that conversation about Wake. And then all of a sudden, all year long, Coach Vitello flew under the radar.
Yeah.
Doing their thing. And it didn't feel like until that SEC tourney when things got a little chippy and the blood starts to boil and postseason, kind of that aroma's in the air, all of a sudden, like, oh, crap, we got to worry about this Vols team. And to me, that's like, I've been singing it from the mountaintops all year. I think a lot of it was because of Christian Moore. I said he was the best second baseman in baseball all year. And I had an entire continent of Australia throwing darts based on the dartboard, right? Down out at Oregon State. It wasn't to take away how unbelievable he was. It just, Christian Moore winning the SEC Triple Crown, he should have been the SEC Player of the Year. Charlie Condon was fantastic. He'd be the Golden Spikes Award, but guys, he won the Triple Crown.
Yeah.
Pair that with Blake Burke, who's steady Eddie in a rotation that we knew was going to be rock solid. It's like, how do we miss on this team being this damn dominant?
Well, and I think that speaks to what you've said a few times. It's the parity in college baseball. Mm-hmm. Tennessee wasn't the clear number one to most people especially going into Hoover. And then there were even until they really won on, I guess it was one on Friday or Saturday, they were still kind of some talks that they may not end up as number one. And then once they play in the SEC championship game, it kind of became clear cut. But I think Tennessee and Tony Vitello loves it. I mean, he doesn't want to be a number one guy. So I think the parity this year, there's so many, not just teams that are capable, so many good teams in college baseball that it's allowed Tennessee to kind of sneak up. And now they've arrived, and it's going to be a little bit harder in the postseason with that number one next to you. But there's a lot of good baseball teams this year. Tennessee's one of them.
Yeah, they got an interesting draw too, right? Like that 2 seed's a good 2 seed. Right, like it's a really good conference, the 4th best RPI conference in the country. So, by no means is it going to be a cakewalk. They're going to see some really good ball clubs along the way. But I love how you use the word sneak because that's what it feels like. Even though it seems like irrational to say out loud that a team that's been highly ranked all year snuck up on you, but it's exactly the case because I think the story in College Station and the story in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and then all of a sudden, Kentucky was 14-1 in conference play to start the SEC slate. We just there wasn't a lot of conversation in Knoxville, and then all of a sudden we look up and you're you look at these numbers throughout the offense, and it's just stupid. And I don't know if it's because of departure from the portal in the offseason or the gains that they made then following suit, but whatever they did, man. It's this beautiful blend of offense and pitching. They play great defense. But to me, doesn't it feel like that locker room just loves being around each other? That's really what the key is to me. Getting to come in and visit with the guys back in November, sitting down with Coach Vitello, sitting down with Drew Beam, and then just watching them interact. You're oh, these boys, it's different. When you can feel that energy together. And I think that's been their kind of calling card all year.
Yeah, I mean, everybody that we've spoken with from the team or around the program, I mean, they just live and breathe it.
Yeah.
And I think that trickles down. Tony Vitello, his first words when he got this job was, "I'm married to the game." And that's trickled down to everybody in that program. And now the fans are all bought in. I think it was 2021 when we finally opened up for COVID. Opened up half capacity for that Vanderbilt series on Saturday facing Jack Leiter. That is when this whole fan base bought in. That was it. Yeah. We're just this is our team now. And I think football being the way that it was, they wanted anything that was winning at the time. Yeah. I mean, if it was men's diving, that's what we were going to hold on to. But it was baseball, and, I think Tennessee's fan base has a little edge to it, and I think Tony Vitello coming in at the right time, I think his edge to him, everybody just kind of resonates with one another.
Well, I sounded like a broken record, but it was the first question that I asked every volunteer in Hoover last week. after that little almost mini skirmish at the end of that game against State,
Mhm.
every guy I asked and had the opportunity to interview, I go, what's it about wearing this uniform that's so prideful? Because I could ask everybody, and I usually do because I think it's really beautiful to find out the essence of what it is about their program that makes them tick. But y'all's is different. Like it is. It's been different the last couple of years,
Mhm.
right? And I asked Drew Beam, and I asked Christian Moore, and I asked Andrew Seacrest, and I asked Kirby Con, like these dudes that like first answer, that starts from the top. Like it starts like they have taken on the representation, the embodiment of their head coach, and like it is like it's so contagious, isn't it? Like I'm sure as a fan,
It's like a cult almost.
where do I sign up then?
Yeah.
But you're spot on, man, and I think that like there is something to be like as a fan, like to tie yourself to, and as a player, like, hey, if that dude's gonna carry himself this way, like it's time to get in line. And I think that's been what's the coolest part, I guess, of this new wave and new generation of volunteer baseball.
Yeah. So like looking at the Knoxville Regional a little bit, kind of what have you seen from these other three teams, and is there any kind of regional that sticks out to you as maybe being like the toughest or softest, if we want to go there too?
Regarding y'all's or just in general?
Just in general, yeah.
Man, that's a good question. In general, I look at that Clemson regional. I know that the guys right down the road. That to me feels like the deepest because, I mean, you look at the storyline of Coastal Carolina. This is a team that has all of the weapons to make a run. I was fortunate enough to be on a couple of their broadcasts this year. I'm a profound believer in the hot, cold, hot theory. You got to be playing your hottest ball of late, but not too hot where it flames out. You know what I mean? So to me, they're a team that if they can just get it to click, they're really dangerous. Right. Vanderbilt looked good last week, but can that depth in pitching sustain during a regional run and a tournament run? And then I just think there's a lot of question marks around Clemson. Clemson hadn't gotten out of a regional since 2012. Can they finally burst that bubble? And Eric Dakich's, I guess, second year at Clemson. And then, man, that 4 seed, I'm a mid-major junkie, boys. I can't help myself. There's something special about that High Point team as a 4 seed in that regional. High Point, their first ever appearance in the NCAA tournament, just like Northern Kentucky, they hit bombs. Doug Kingsmore, where Clemson plays, is a bandbox. So it's like, I root for every 4 seed because I can't help myself.
Sure.
But it just feels like this year there are some 4 seeds that can make some noise. So I've got my eye on that one. That Arizona regional is stacked with DBU, West Virginia, Grand Canyon. I think there's going to be some mayhem there as well. When we look at Charles, though, it's Southern Miss is the team where you win the belt championship, right? And then it's, hey, congratulations, go play the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah.
Right? Like, will it be an experience for them? Or are they going to show up a little vengeful? Or do they throw you some shots? Because I saw them in Montgomery. I went from Hoomer to Montgomery last week. They're good. They're really talented. They got like legitimate pro players and a guy like Dalton McIntyre who had close to 400 on the year. They've got like 93, 94 velo arms out of the pen. So, they're not going to lay over. And I just think we've just seen so much resiliency from this Tennessee team that you're like, I'm not too worried, but it's not going to be a rollover by any means.
Sure. Yeah, we're used to playing tough teams in our regional. I mean, Riot State a couple of years ago, that was not a 4 seed at all.
No.
And Campbell 2 years ago in our regional, that was, I mean, Zach Nato and some of those guys, that was pretty unreal too.
Those guys are so good.
Yeah.
And like that proves to this year, Campbell was a top 25 team for like the first month and a half. They didn't even make their conference tournament this year. So you're just looking at the game older and, in my opinion, better than it's ever been. So I think this tournament is going to get off the tracks here pretty quickly.
Yeah. What's the so look? I mean, you know far more about all these teams in our regional and the whole country. You said one thing Tennessee has to do really well this weekend, and one thing Tennessee has to avoid. What are you kind of hitting on for these to face, whether Northern Kentucky, Southern Miss, or Indiana, whatever it would be?
Yeah, well, Indiana's got 2 All-Americans on their team. So I think, I think the most important thing when you're a 1 seed in these tournaments, like you got to get on the board early and like try to take away any life and I guess I feel like don't let them get comfortable. Don't let them start to believe in themselves because it can happen so fast.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Good news, Christian Moore is leading off, so
That's
good.
It helps.
Precisely, man. So like I'm not too concerned right when that guy who looks like he could play middle linebacker in the fall at y'all's football stadium. Like, I'm not so worried. But you're right, man. Indiana, they got a kid in Tyler Cerny who I really love his bat. Southern Miss again. I saw the ticket prices for that Northern Kentucky game. Like, that's going to be outrageous, man. Like, it's going to be outrageous.
Yeah.
So, like, the energy is going to be palpable. So, man, your keys, you're like, hey, just go in and go scratch early and try to take away life in that ballpark. And then to me, it's getting like good quality innings out of your starting pitcher, which is exactly what they just did in Hoover. You go get 6-7 innings and allow those back end guys to just worry about 3-4 outs at a time. Like, all of a sudden, like, the game just gets shorter. And I think that's what y'all did a great job in Hoover, turning it over to guys who hadn't really thrown all year, right? Like, even when you think about a dude who has thrown a good, but like Chris Damos looked really good last week. Like, that's just another arm that adds length for y'all's rotation.
Yeah, I think that's been the biggest key, I think, for Tennessee to sustain this success throughout the year is like, we know Frank Anderson is one of the best pitching coaches in all. I mean, what do they call it? The Arm Farm?
Yeah.
That's what they call it. It's a pretty sick nickname. Better than the pitching lab. But I think that's been the biggest key is like you lose your Friday night guy in A.J. Russell. And then they've kind of relied on just like pieced it here and there. You know, if one guy's struggling, let's move him to the bullpen. Let's get an opener in there like Stamos has been. And it's worked perfectly. And you have guys like Xander who, you know, really wanted to start. You know, he was tired of that midweek, and I get it. And then he kind of gets his opportunity and makes the most of it. And then you have guys like Dylan Loy, who's a freshman, I mean, right up the road in Pigeon Forge last year. He's pitching in district championships, and now he pitched in the SEC championship last week. So I think there's been a ton of arms, and I think it might be Frank Anderson's best coaching to date.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the name that I think is super crucial. And when I interviewed him in November, we joked about it. He was a guy that had been a midweek starter his entire career. I was a guy that only played in games when we were up 12 and down 8. I was a plus 12, minus 8 guy. So Xander and I joked a ton about it as he walked me around the ballpark. And between he and Kirby, like, those were the two weird lefties that when I went to Coach Patel and I was like, hey, when we do this like stadium tour, I just want like the fabric of your locker. I want your guys that you'd want to sit next to him. And he called those two immediately. And they were the perfect guys. And we joked about, midweeks matter. And like, hey, who needs it though on the weekends? But when it was his turn, right? Like that light flickered and an alter competitor showed up. And then Xander is a dude with a really uncomfortable arm slot for any hitter that stands in the box. He throws all 3 pitches for a strike. And that's what you've gotten, that consistency like his buddy Kirby Connell has given to you guys out of the back end, the most appearances in the history of the program. And like, when you call upon guys in a culture like this, where a dude like A.J. Russell goes down in some programs, there's no bouncing back from. In this Tennessee one, it's just next man up. And I know that's such coach talk, but in that locker room, like, it's an ultra belief in the guy next to you that, like, if it's me, if it's you. And isn't that what's funny about y'all's offense too? It always feels like it's a different guy every night. And that's what it's been on the mound this year. And I love, to your point, where it might be his best pitching job to date, because every guy that's rolled up has been just as effective as the next.
Yeah. And I think it is cool that, like in the SEC tournament, like the lineup produces, and like you said, it's been a different guy pretty much every time. Yeah, you got Mr. Consistency up at the top and Christian Moore and Blake Burke. And but it's been, you know, some of those games in Hoover, they went over. And it didn't matter. Like, you're still able to win. Like, what other teams, there's not many of them that where, let's say, a Charlie Condon on a team goes over. Are they winning that game? I don't know. I don't know.
One, it's awesome to see like a dude like Hunter Ensley. Watching him patrol the outfield is a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden the bat wakes up and you're like, oh, that's not fair, right? Like he's just a specimen in the batter's box, especially playing that shortstop spot. It's like all of these pieces around the superstars that you already know, man, that's when it gets really difficult to pitch to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, Billy Amick feeling like, we believed in him. He just had a slump, but coming out of nowhere for the crucial home run. I mean, a ball off the bat. You just knew it. It was beauty.
Billy the Kid, dude. There is a sick walk up that I feel like gets the people going. I think that really. I'm obsessed.
Gets the people going.
It's so good. It's half the battle, right?
Oh yeah.
He's almost exceeded expectations in like a super quiet way where the country knew about him in the offseason. Now it's like he's just kind of like been like the subtle like X factor behind all these other dudes we keep talking about.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's a first rounder too. Yeah, it just doesn't seem fair, but yeah, Tennessee's gonna continue to what they do. I do want to ask you about like the entire tournament.
Okay.
Who's your have you picked your final 8?
I have. I've done it on a couple different podcasts throughout the week and even today. And I think every time I do it, I find a way to pick a new 8. So
okay.
Love it. It's like
what's your new 8 today? At some point, you got to be right.
On the contrary. No, I've been pretty damn consistent with who I think is going to be there regardless. I think you guys, Kentucky and A&M, continue to run the table. There's not a shadow of a doubt that those 3 teams have been deep as hell all year and get it done. The 2 seed that I'm in love with is Duke. I know it's the sexy pick that everyone's talking about. They end up getting sent to Oklahoma. The Big 12 champion will face the ACC champion in a regional, and they feel a little slighted. But I loved it. And when you talk about age, they got Ivy League transfers, 24, 25-year-old guys in that locker room.
Jesus.
And during the selection show, didn't bat an eye, did not flinch, did not cheer, were not excited. We're just letting the committee know they messed up and they were on their way. That fired me up. Chris Pollard is a dog. He's about to become the all-time winningest coach in the history of Duke's program. So I'm a big fan of them as a 2. There's some mid-majors that I want people to keep an eye on. UNC Wilmington as a 2 seed in that Georgia regional. People have already just gotten ready for that Georgia Tech-Georgia game on Saturday night. Be really careful. Wilmington is a monster in the CAA, and they've got really, really stud front-end pitching. That's another mid-major. Who are some other guys I like? I thought Florida State got a pretty easy draw. I thought looking at it from afar, you see UCF and Alabama in that region. I didn't think Alabama earned enough to be a 2 seed in my opinion. So Florida State in a year where like they got off to a quick start, kind of struggled in ACC play, and then all of a sudden they boost back to being a national seed. I could see them making a run as well, depending on the health of Jamie Arnold.
We probably helped Alabama get that 2 seed, so you're welcome.
I said no comment. No comment. But yeah, there's a lot of mid majors out there though. I can't sleep on LSU as a 2 seed in Chapel Hill. You got to feel almost bad for North Carolina.
Yeah,
number 4 overall seed in the country, and you get sent to the reigning champs. You're like, oh, that sucks.
And they're playing their best baseball right now too, which is rough. Yeah.
Well, hey, we'll find out now. I mean, we'll find out if it's still their best baseball.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
they did get taken down. They did get taken down.
It is a new season. 0-0.
Oh no. It'll be interesting to see how they show back up this week after playing lights out in some historical ways with like the Stephen Milam walk-off. And man, they played such crazy baseball games that it's like, well, did they like exhaust it all in 1 week? Like that's a little bit of a concern for me too, is like, did you drain it? Not with the leadership in their locker room. Their 2 catchers, Alex Milazzo and Hayden Travinski, are like senior vets that will calm and right the ship. That I'm not too worried about them. That's a fun one. There's the UCSB, the Gauchos. I think that's a really fun team too. first ever time for a mid-major for the Gauchos getting to host at their ballpark. Like, that's going to be a sick, like, there's always one West Coast team that sneaks in there. To me, that's the one, right? Like, I think they even beat Oregon. Like, I think Oregon State gets tripped up a little bit, to be honest with you.
San Diego, I mean, I know we faced them last year, and they were pretty good. So
they're awesome. They're awesome. The Toreros are great. My problem is I kind of believe in Oregon a ton. Oregon is like borderline my favorite 3 seed in this tournament. And they'll face off. Obviously, that they're in the Gauchos regional, so only one's going to exit. But to me, Oregon has got a lot to prove. There feels like in the exiting of the Pac-12 stage left, kind of like in the football playoff, doesn't it feel like there's going to be a weird Pac-12 team end up in Omaha and go on a little run? You're like, what the hell? Here?
Yeah. Well, I think that's just also the nature of the Pac-12. Talking about these sneaky teams, Stanford ends the year the way they did last year and gets to Omaha. It's just weird. So add in, like you said, that last little hurrah, and it might get weirder.
Yeah.
Kind of along those same lines, I'm curious, not necessarily underdog, and I think going into the parity of the sport this year, it might not even be able to say that about a team, but maybe your most interesting favorite. Like, who are you picking that's maybe not the popular pick, but deserves to be talked about to either just be in Omaha or be playing for a title?
Well, so I don't want to go chalk. I'm not going to go you guys. I won't go Kentucky. I won't go A&M. Duke would be chalk too. That's a good one. Who's flying under radars that I think can make a run? I say Coastal. I know that's kind of an attractive pick too.
Just because of the name? Is that what it is?
I was going to say, do they get that if they don't? I mean, I know they're a good baseball team, but do they get that if they hadn't won it? And was that 16?
1-16, they're a 3 seed. And to me, I like the draw a lot. Like, I do think that the draw is really interesting. Where, like, I don't – not that I don't believe in Clemson, but, like, they haven't gotten out of a regional since 12. Vanderbilt, like, you just don't know which Vandy team you're going to get. He always got his group postseason play, which I think leaves the door open for Coastal. A 33 RPI this year. Their offense is super deep. They're a little, like, light on the mound, but to me, they're a team that can make a run. And here's another team that I got the opportunity to broadcast this year, NC State. NC State right now, for your hypothetical investors out there, 35-1 to win the national championship this year. I said there's some 24-year-olds roaming the college baseball landscape. They got a couple of them. They also have 17 and 18-year-olds on their lineup contributing. So, like, their margin, and, like, we're watching a team that I think is not only building for this year, but for years to come. They've got 3 19-year-olds that come out of their bullpen that are insane. Jacob Duden, who throws like 100 miles per hour. Cooper Consiglio, who's a lefty, and Ryan Morona, who's a lefty, that are like 94, 95. And you're like, you can't even, like, buy beer yet, and you're pitching in these huge moments. NC State's got, like, quietly, like, the best resume in college baseball.
Mm-hmm.
They have 10 weekend series wins. So when you look at the body of work, they got their teeth kicked in a little bit in the midweeks, which I guess could be concerning, but those midweeks were against Wilmington and Coastal and Campbell and, like, Duke. And so they played a really difficult out-of-conference tournament that I think prepared them really well. So if you're looking for a dark horse that is a number 1 seed, that would be the team I keep my eye on.
Okay. Who is
and who knows? They maybe win it in 21 if they aren't stopped by COVID. Who knows? People talk about it.
Do you want the inside track? Do you want to hear a little hint to the industry?
Yeah.
In their facility, they have the 2021 runner-up trophy, right? They got it. And in, like, giant Sharpie, they have, like, runner-up crossed out. And it's, like, just champs over it. So it's like they feel slighted. In 23, they didn't, or 22, they were the first team out, felt slighted yet again. So they're a program that is playing with a massive chip on their shoulder.
Wait, how did they get this NCAA trophy? Was this stolen? Was this a heist on their way out?
No, because they finished second that year, right? So they finished second in 21 when they had to forfeit. So, like, the NCAA gave them this, like, so they have it. And, like, hint to the industry.
All right.
Wow. So looking at Tennessee again, who is name a player that's like an X factor for you in this regional? Sorry to kind of put you on the spot there with just
Oh,
the whole roster. Okay.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, like you don't want to go chalk and be like, yeah, Christian Moore's going to be great.
Yeah.
He's been pretty awesome all year.
Right.
No, I think like having a really consistent piece out of the back end, like Kirby Connell is like national championship teams build statues for guys like that. Like a dude that can throw in every single game, an old dude with a rubber band arm. He's going to be a guy when you make your run, you're going to go, that was the guy that helped us do it. Kind of like Riley Cooper for LSU last year. You know what I mean? Or Michael Rock, Circle 2012, like a lefty side. Like, so to me, that's your national championship run X factor. This weekend, I'm going to go Hunter Ensley. I know I just brought him up. Okay. He's a patrolman out and like he is really rangy. Seeing it in person, you're like watching run down baseballs that don't make sense, but it feels like the bat's waking up. And to me, like if he can provide some protection in that 4, 5, 6 hole that he often finds himself in, like that could be a massive X factor, not only this weekend but moving forward as well.
Yeah, 4 for 4 in the SEC championship. Let's keep that rolling.
So pretty good. 4 for 4, pretty good.
That's all right in my book.
It's good from Wendy's. I know that. So.
So you go spicy nuggets or regular?
I go regular. I share them with my dog. He can't handle the spicy.
That's a true dog lover right there. You only get 4 of those.
Yeah, I know. There's favorite. I can't let him not. So he's in on it.
There you go.
I don't have anything else, Landon. For
I don't. I do want to ask you like kind of how you got started doing like a 11.7, the pencil talk. You know, you told us that you do some ESPN and call some games. So kind of how did that start? And also, did you flip your bat when you hit your home run and your first home run and your last at bat you're on senior day?
One and only. Yes, I did. I did backflip pretty hard. I did. I was a wildly below average college baseball player that loved the shit out of the game. Sorry, I don't know if we can cuss. Love the hell out of the game.
Yeah.
Say whatever you want.
yeah, I did. But I do. I love this stuff like so much. So that was a really cool moment. You could tell by my teammates' reaction that they were about as surprised as I was, but I knew that I'd gotten it. So I did. That flipped pretty good and made sure to take a quick note because it was senior day at Charleston Southern. It was my last at bat there before the conference tournament. So that was a really special moment. I definitely bat flipped pretty good. And that's actually where the pencil talk deal had started. I was about to graduate my senior year. I did not know that I needed an internship. I ended up interning with the SID department during our season. I'm like, all right, guys, post-game write-ups, interviews, whatever you need, I'm your intern. They're like, great. I was a terrible intern. I always forgot the microphone. Always had a pencil, though. So that's how I did the interviews. Fast forward 2 years, I had a redshirt year, then a COVID year, and I needed another internship to graduate from George Mason, where I finished up my playing career, and I was able to revive it, excuse me. And man, the pencil was kind of reborn. About a year ago, I decided I was going to go headfirst in. I love telling stories in sports, and that's when the broadcasting deal had kind of started. Calling games in my local area in Charleston, South Carolina. I was really blessed to this year come about and just continue to tell stories to hopefully one day make it a living. And to me, the pencil became a little bit more of a genuine or authentic way to like interview guys after a game. Like I'm not that far removed from a locker room. So me coming down in a suit and tie and a microphone didn't fit the bill. And it wouldn't have been as like real as I had wanted it to be. So the flops went on, the pencil came back out. And to me, like you get to see this, like all of a sudden this behind the scenes look at what I hope is interpreted as like this real experience and interaction between player and guy that's really, because again, below average college baseball player, I guess hyping these dudes up because I know how difficult it is what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. So that's kind of how it started. That's where it is today. And just kind of chasing that vision of just telling sports stories in sports, just like you guys, man.
Yeah. Are we doing it right?
Yeah, let's go.
I've got it.
I go mechanical. I don't even know where I even got this.
Hey, here's the deal.
You got a mechanical pencil too? Because I don't have any wood. It's just the classic. It's just mechanical. Yeah,
dude,
I need to go number 2.
Here's the deal, boys. If we were able to make it to a super, people ask me all the time, what kind of pencil is it? What kind of Dixon Ticonderoga number 2?
Ticonderoga, yes.
OG, right? But here's the deal: I've been in Ticonderoga's DMs pretty much every Monday. For the last 2 months. I'm getting ghosted, so I'm willing to field some other offers.
Okay.
Mechanic plays, man. As long as it's not a pen, pencils will play. I love it. I appreciate you.
We can help you out. We got Xander a deal with Big League Chew. So
We did. Brokered
That's
it.
awesome.
yeah. So
Sort of. We just
you could
tagged
be
them.
yeah. But it did come to fruition. So I mean, we can start tweeting at them too.
Guys, as many different angles that we can attack these guys.
Okay.
You ready for a fun fact? Do
Yeah.
you know who the biggest ambassador is? Like sponsoree, I guess. Ticonderoga. Lee Corso. Tell me that wouldn't be the next great thing falling in behind College Game Day.
I agree.
Oh my
Perfect.
gosh.
Yeah.
There's
I
no
agree.
telling what he's riding with a pencil.
No, I just looked at the Kmart version of their Walmart production. That's all.
Yeah.
Would you sell the name of the podcast? Could it become Ticonderoga Talk instead of Pencil
No.
Talk? Okay, we just got to know where the line is. That's it. We just got to know where the line is.
Let me, and I'll answer your question with a story. I made this very clear when I went out to Omaha last year. Like, this was in its infancy. Like, this was just proof of concept. One guy at the beginning didn't laugh. One guy didn't shake their head and was curious. One dude, and it was Coach Vitello. One guy was curious and not judgmental, and he walked up and was like, "What's going on here?" Because he saw me interviewing the guys. I got to interview Drew Beam after a huge start in Omaha last year. So I say to that, I am wildly biased, like so unbelievably biased. And if you're a fan of the brand, I'm a fan of you. So if Ticonderoga is a fan of what we're doing, I'll change the name in a heartbeat.
All right.
I like that.
So we got to know. We got to know.
Money talks.
But it's
Hey, I know we've talked about what you're doing, but I want to tell everybody where they can find you, follow you, where they can keep up.
I appreciate that, man. Hey, all streaming platforms, we do Pencil Talk on everything, Apple, Spotify, anywhere that you consume your podcast. I'm Jay DeLongchamps, Jack DeLongchamps on Twitter. Pencil Talk is not really very present on Twitter, but Pencil Talk is all over Instagram, where I do all of my player interviews and coach interviews. And all of it is driven by the awesome dudes over at 11.7, man. They've been so awesome and grateful in bringing me on board. So if you're a college baseball junkie, there is nobody better at what they do than 11.7. The highlights, the breakdowns. I've been grateful to jump on their podcast every Monday and just kind of talk ball. So this is their favorite time of the year. I'm blessed as hell to jump on board with them for this last little ride. And I appreciate y'all bringing me on, man. This was a sweet opportunity.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll see you in a week or two.
We got to make it
About a week. Yeah.
Get Ticonderoga on board out there. So
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, let's win some games and cut some deals and call it a day. That's what we're on.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
All right, Jack. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Man, I appreciate Jack coming on. A little Pencil Talk or future Ticonderoga talk. I don't want to, get too far ahead of ourselves here, but good talking ball with him. Appreciate it. We'll miss him in Knoxville this weekend, but go win a regional, and we'll see him in Knoxville next weekend.
Yeah, all's well.
Absolutely. Anything else before we get in? Do you want to mention those football times? Get into stupidity? What do you want to do?
I just thought it was funny real quick that we just didn't want a noon game, and they gave us a 12:45 game for the first game against Chattanooga. I thought
No, we were cool with the noon Chattanooga game. We didn't want a noon NC State game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Chattanooga, we're okay with getting out of the way.
Well, we didn't get that either. I mean,
12:45. That's until it hits 1. That's noon in my book.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't even know we could play football at 12:45.
that new deal, I guess, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like those times. I think you need to have them on the dot. 9:45, like that. Just
I'm gonna be honest. 12:45 is 45 minutes more of tailgating, so I'm cool with it.
I am too, but I just feel like, if you're tailgating all day, 45, that a lot of people are going to show up at 1 o'clock thinking the game's at 1 o'clock.
That's fine. That's cool with me. After the way they do it, it probably will start at 1 o'clock anyway. So
that's true. Yeah.
Who cares? Yeah, I mean, I'm good with our schedule. Little Charlotte at night.
7:45.
I'll be in bed. I'm gonna go ahead and put this out there. I'm probably gonna be giving I'm probably not going to Kent State at 7:45. I'm too old, man. I have a bedtime.
I'm definitely going.
I'm past my bedtime.
I mean, that tailgate's gonna rock.
I'm tailgating. Oh, let's be clear about this. I'm tailgating.
Okay.
Yeah. I just don't know if I'll make it into Neyland.
Yeah.
That's late for Kent State.
It is late. 7:45. What are these times?
That's insane.
Yeah.
I'd rather that game kick off at 9 a.m. at John Tarleton than 7:45 in Neyland.
I mean, do they think we're Pac-12 after dark? Like, what is this?
They may get me with that being the first night game in Neyland. They may get me there. I'll put out that warning right now.
Oh, yeah. You'll be all in that day.
I probably will be. But maybe somebody will want my tickets and I'll just give them away and look like a good person. We'll see. We'll see.
All right,
I've already had people ask me about tickets. I'm like, listen, dog.
Are you serious?
Just like, hey, you know anywhere to get tickets? Like, not ridiculously expensive.
I've had that too. I've had a lot of that for baseball. It's like, dude.
No, I don't.
No. I will be there, so I will not be selling my tickets.
All right, let's get into stupidities.
Let's do it.
I don't know if this is stupidity. Because I might be stupid. This might be fake. It looks fake, but I kind of want to talk about it. Just get the ball rolling on this real quick. You see this helmet? Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Can you see what how it's got like that dolphin head on it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, first off, probably not a bad idea, right? Like dolphins ram their heads all the time, and I've never heard of a dolphin having CTE or concussions. I've never heard of a dolphin being out for a week, 2 weeks, a month because of a concussion. On the surface, doesn't look like a bad idea, right? Isn't that kind of like what you're getting from that? Kind of same look? I feel like one of these billionaire owners should invest. Well, let me ask you this. Humans adapt over time. Why have we not seen football guys start getting like dolphin heads to be less susceptible to concussions?
Like getting like plastic surgery? Is that what you're saying?
No, adapt over time like humans do, evolve.
Oh. I don't know.
Don't you feel like there should be a couple of linebackers out there that birth sons with abnormally large frontal craniums?
Yeah, well, I feel like there was no concussions, and now like every time you get hit, you get a concussion. So, are we adapting in the wrong way?
I think it's called science.
Yeah.
This is why I want to kick off the stupidity, because now we're in on the stupidity.
Yeah. I don't know what to do.
It's kind of a joke, but also slightly. Okay, here's my question: when do humans' heads evolve to where we're less susceptible to concussions? Okay, so that's a good point. Now that we're alerting people to these concussions, do humans ever evolve since we're taking such precautions that we never, our skulls never advance to the point that we don't get concussions? Is this worse for the human race? Is the NFL step towards protecting human brains worse for the human race? That's my question.
I think my thing is, I think concussions are caused by wearing helmets all the time. You know how kind of like you wear a hat, if like somebody wears a hat all the time, like it destroys like their hair and like
is that scientifically true?
I don't know, but I'm gonna roll with it because it proves my point.
Because I see a lot of people with gray hair wear hats often, and I'm jealous as a man who genetically just doesn't have hair.
Anyway, I think that if we didn't wear helmets all the time have made
it's making us soft. It's making us soft. We're a soft human race. Mm-hmm. We need to go back pre-helmet, never put on the leather heads, and keep hitting. And by 2024, concussions wouldn't exist. We would have evolved past concussions.
Correct.
I agree. Well, and that is kind of that was me saying that in a dumb way. People kind of say that's people feel invincible in helmets, which I don't. Did you ever put on football pads and feel invincible? Because I just felt like I'm getting prepared to be destroyed. Like I'm getting prepared for someone to hit me really hard. These are pads, not weapons.
I just felt like so restricted. I hate
You know what?
The shoulder pads, like, I mean, you catch a ball like kind of like this.
See, and this is kind of, I think this is more of just a feel thing. I felt dumber, and I don't know. It's like putting on like the full pads didn't feel as restrictive as just putting on a helmet. You know, like that week in July where you just wear helmets. I thought that was worse than wearing full pads.
Because all you want to do is hit people with your helmet.
No, I just thought I felt really dumb, and you know, like I guess like your head just kind of feels so much heavier than the rest of your body.
Yeah,
it wasn't fun, man. It sucked. I didn't like it. It felt like I had more restriction. I feel like I couldn't do as much as I thought I could because I had a helmet on.
Yeah, I mean, like 7. I like 7-on-7, but like full pads in practice sucks. It's not fun.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I guess I just got used to it and never bothered me.
I think that first week of helmets also, like, your head's getting used to it, so your head just constantly hurts.
Oh, the sweat was the worst part.
Yeah. And then
I'm a
acne too, so like my forehead would just be drenched in sweat. I'm like, well, I'm gonna have like 8 bumps tomorrow. It's gonna be great.
I'm more of like you know how some people, you know, their shirt gets real sweaty. I've always been more of like a head sweater. My head sweat more than anything else.
I think I am too.
You know, like Jacob, how his hair was always so wet.
Yeah.
I was like head sweater. I wasn't really like a body sweater.
Yeah, I feel that.
Now
I'm always sweating.
Now where I'm fat, I sweat everywhere now. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, that was on a roller coaster.
Right there. No, I liked it. I think we need to spark this up more.
My next one has to do kind of with a guy putting on a helmet.
Okay.
So the stupidity I have is Bordeaux. If you don't know Bordeaux, I love the guy. Like, he's the guy who's on TikTok and YouTube doing like Road to Glories in different ways, or dynasties in different ways. Well, he tweeted the rest. He is a Kentucky fan, so I guess I will give him this. But he says the rest of the SEC should be trembling at the thought of facing Brock Vandagriff. He's about to have the best year of his college career guaranteed. I mean, he's got to have the best year guaranteed. He's never played.
Peyton Manning's rookie season would like
he's finally putting on a helmet for the first time. So good for him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Great for him. Sounds like.
I was just like, what? Obviously, yes.
Well, no duh. My next one, this is a story I haven't dug into a lot. I just heard it for the first time as I was driving home. Did you know that there was a failed coup in the Congo this last week, 2 weeks ago? There was almost a violent overthrow of a government. There were some U.S. citizens in on it, which not shocking, but they weren't like CIA assets, it seems. But one dude was like a 21, 23-year-old guy who went over there with his high school buddy, his high school football teammate, and somehow got in on this coup.
Is this another machine story?
How dumb are you? It sounds like he was going on vacation with his buddy and his buddy's dad who lived somewhere near the Congo, I guess. And he ends up, according to his friends that are still here, one that was invited, it sounds like he was kind of like, hey, come over and visit, this place with me forever. And then he just like somehow ends up in a coup. And I'm thinking, how dumb do you have to be to end up in a violent overthrow of a government?
When it's not even your government.
That too. That astounds me. And then also, this was his first time leaving the country, Landon. The first time the man steps foot off American soil, he's trying to violently overthrow a government. I don't believe he's that stupid, but just for the purpose of stupidity, if he is, that might be the pinnacle of stupidity.
God, yeah. I mean, that's
crazy.
You hear a lot of like dumb Americans when you go to like different countries. I mean, that's
you
not
hear,
helping our case out at
breaking
all.
obscure laws or getting imprisoned for things you shouldn't necessarily be imprisoned for. This man tried to violently overthrow a government. That's insane.
Maybe he's hoping that like they capture him and like the U.S. trades somebody for him.
I think there's videos of him being like violently beaten by Congo military officials.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's enjoying the prison. I don't think he's going to get in a trade for a merchant of death. I think we saw how he lost that trade, and I don't think it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about the Congo government. I'm not saying.
Listen,
just to be clear, I want to be on the right side of history here. I don't know. Maybe the government should have been overthrown. Maybe it shouldn't have. I have no idea. Not entangled with Congo's political affairs. I have no idea. I just think the first time I left the country, no matter what I believed about the country I was visiting, probably wouldn't try to overthrow the government. Probably wouldn't stage a coup.
I want to know, like, how did he even communicate with everybody else that was involved?
I think there were a few Americans involved, but everyone else, don't know. Good question. It sounds like this guy, maybe his dad was from somewhere around there, Congo or not. Sounds like this guy grew up in Utah, played high school football, and was like, man, this high school football team's tough. They're mean. I should take them back home, and then we'll take the palace. The palace will be ours. You win a couple high school football games, and you feel invincible. Going back into pay, you put on a helmet, feel invincible.
So
now he's definitely got a concussion. Probably some other things, but a concussion for sure.
For sure. Well, I mean, if you're that dumb, I guess you deserve it. Whatever.
Oh yeah, that's I feel bad for you. I can't.
Yeah. My next one is fifth quarter Clemson. It's just some random Clemson account, but it said obviously Vandy is going to Clemson for the regional, and it said wanted dead or alive, and it's a picture of the Vandy Whistler. It's the one that passed away.
Yeah. Was this the same one that was like, I will fight him. I will fight this man on sight. No questions asked. And I should have responded, but I wasn't sure if it was the right one. And I was like, I think he died.
Yeah. I mean, this guy died and they said wanted dead or alive.
Yeah. Too late. Ben Mintz has already been on the case.
Gosh.
That was a great day on the internet, by the way. When that was like right after Ben Mintz had said something to him at the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
And then the guy died. And everyone was just like, where was Ben Mintz when he died?
Gosh. Yeah, just be careful what you put on the internet. Screenshots live forever.
Did that guy ever say anything? Like, I won't kill this man? He's wanted alive. He's wanted alive. I was going to resurrect him. The dead part was not real.
I think they deleted it, but I got it.
Don't you kind of have to lean into that at that point?
Maybe.
I think you do. I could be wrong, but I think you got to lean into it.
It was a lot of engagements, so maybe he just like, nah.
It's probably just another one of these Twitter engagement farms. I'm Twitter. I think Twitter sucks a lot more since Elon's taken over. I don't know if that's a hot take or a ice cold take or whatever take. The amount of bots and it's kind of cool. You get paid just for having a Twitter page, but it's clear people just tweet out things to get responses now, and it's made it insufferable. Along with the porn bots, that sucked too, but more so, scrolling through my timeline and seeing tweets that are clearly meant for engagements.
Yeah, like I post a picture with my wife, and then it's like nudes in bio. Like, then my wife's like, "Who's this?" I was like, "I don't know."
I clearly know this woman. Big Tennessee fan.
Yeah.
She sits next to me at the baseball games. Don't worry about it.
It looks.
Show up half the time.
I want to know, like, is it just like all the big accounts get all that, or is it all random?
I don't know, but whoever's running those accounts, respect. That's a lot of work. I respect the work you put in.
They're getting to where like they're like, oh yeah, Christian Moore had a big day. It's like eggplant emoji, eggplant emoji, eggplant emoji.
Yeah. We should have like a porn bot day where everything we tweet is like it's from a porn bot.
It's a big day.
Imagine the responses you'd get if you tweeted Christian Moore big day, eggplant emoji, eggplant emoji, eggplant emoji.
I'd probably be in the Congo getting my ass whooped too.
That'll be that's your safe word. If you see that tweeted from Landon's account, know he is in a Congo prison.
Yeah. I don't have anything else.
I don't
Awesome. Guys, thank y'all for listening. We'll be back on Sunday. Hopefully the regional is wrapped up and Tennessee is headed to a super. I do remember what we have to do if we do clinch a ticket to Omaha, Caleb. We must reenact what we did last year, no matter what.
Yeah, I think better to do it in a hotel pool along the highway on our way to Omaha.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Actually, let's do it multiple times.
Yes. Also, any gas station brand that would like to sponsor our trip, holler at your boy.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
We'll make great content. I will extend from pizza reviews. Hot dog reviews stay in the park. That's a strict rule for us.
Yeah.
Hot dog reviews, that's a sacred thing. But we'll take one of your hot dogs into the park if you'd like. I will smuggle a wiener into the park.
Oh. Also, if you want to do a hot dog review tomorrow, holler at your boy. We'll do one.
Also, speaking of hot dogs, shout out to the Spring Fling. Dude, Guan-sized dogs. I'm not joking.
Good or bad?
It was decent. I turned to Boone, though, when I opened it. I was like, dude, you ordered me an extra thick? I'm like, what's going on here?
He heard you wanted that smoky dog, and that was the next best thing.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys. Thank y'all again. Have a good rest of your week. Go Vols. And we're bringing the boat in, and we out.